What is going on, college basketball fans? Today I'm going to be filling out my Women's March Madness tournament bracket, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. If you guys are looking for a very informational women's bracket, I am not that guy. I am very informational when it came to my men's bracket. Definitely go check that out. This one's just going to be more for fun. I do know a little bit about some of these teams, so I am going to do my best, and I do know that there are not as many upsets in women's college basketball as there are in men's. I've learned this. My girlfriend watches some women's college basketball, and she has told me a few tips, so I am going to do my best. Real quick, make sure you guys subscribe for more college sports content here on the channel. We've been growing really quick. I appreciate all the support lately. And yeah, guys, let's get into these picks. So, I don't think a 16 has ever beaten a 1 in women's. I highly doubt that because there are not as many upsets. There's only been 1 in men's. South Carolina also beats like every team by 50 points. I know that for a fact. South Carolina is moving on here. Next up, we got South Florida versus Marquette. If I'm not mistaken, South Florida is usually pretty good out of their conference in women, so I am going to go with the South Florida Bulls there to pick up that W. Then we got Oklahoma versus Purdue, and like I said, my girlfriend watches women's college basketball. She has told me as a WVU fan and student that she's seen Oklahoma play us. Oklahoma has a really good player on their team, a really good shooter, and I'm going to ride with Oklahoma past Portland for sure. Then we got UCLA, Sacramento State, and I got UCLA. Again, no upsets yet. I don't think there will be that many upsets. I'm going to try to do my best to find one that looks good. Then we got Creighton versus either Illinois or Mississippi State. Again, I'm going to rock with Creighton here to move on in this tourney. Then we got Notre Dame versus Southern Utah. I got to go with Notre Dame because I know a few years ago they had that one girl who hit back-to-back buzzer beaters in the Final Four game and in the championship game to lead the Fighting Irish to the championship. That was crazy. I'm rocking with Notre Dame to keep moving on. Then we got Arizona versus West Virginia. I'm a WVU fan. I'm going to pick the WVU woman to pick up a W over Arizona in round 1. We need at least one double-digit seed in our second round for this region. Give me West Virginia there to move on. Then we got Maryland versus Holy Cross. I'm going to go with Maryland there in that matchup. We are just going to go region by region just like I did the men's. We got South Carolina versus South Florida. I'm going to go with South Carolina. Like I said, they beat every team by 50. I have a hard time believing that they're going to lose before the Sweet 16. Then we got Oklahoma and UCLA. I'm going to go with Oklahoma there. They have a really good shooter on their team. I don't know her name, but I'm rolling with it. Then we got Creighton versus Notre Dame here in this one. And I'm actually going to go with a little bit of upset here. I know Notre Dame is usually pretty good, but I'm going to go with Creighton here to pick up the W over Notre Dame. I don't know if that's really that smart, but I'm going to go with Creighton here. Then we have West Virginia versus Maryland. I'm not going to have West Virginia go any further. I know, just as a WVU fan, that they have a first-year head coach. I'm not sure how good she's been doing as our head coach, but I am going to have her lead our squad past round 1, past Arizona at least. Then we got South Carolina versus Oklahoma. I'm not going to lie, I really want to pick Oklahoma here to keep dancing. But South Carolina, I know for a fact they're just unbeatable. Like, they're unbeatable in women's college basketball. It's crazy, so I am going to go with South Carolina there. Creighton versus Maryland here in this matchup. I'm going to end Creighton's dance there, and I am going to have South Carolina move on to the Final Four. So, next up we got Indiana versus either, I don't know what, Monmouth or I'm guessing Tennessee Tech, maybe. I am going to go with Indiana. Indiana's been having a solid year in the Big Ten. I have seen that, just from watching like Sports Center, stuff like that. I've seen Indiana is really good this year. Then we got Oklahoma State versus Miami. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State here in this one to move on. Then we got Washington State versus Florida Gulf Coast University. And honestly, we need some sort of upsets in here. I mean, I don't know too much about it, and I do want to pick some upsets. I know there's not going to be that many. Let's take Florida Gulf Coast here, just because in men's that one year they had that crazy year where they were Dunk City. It was amazing. They went on an awesome run. Let's take Florida Gulf Coast there to get the win. Then we got Villanova coming out over Cleveland State. We got, I do kind of want to go with UNLV, but I'm going to go with Michigan to come out over UNLV. LSU over Hawaii. I'm going to go with Princeton over NC State. I do know Princeton, I'm pretty sure, has a pretty good player on their team. I could be mistaken with that. I'm going to go with Princeton there. And then we got Utah over Gardner-Webb. Okay. Is Utah really a 2 seed this year? I feel like Utah is usually not that good in women's. Maybe I'm tripping, but I don't remember. Next up, we do have Indiana beating Oklahoma State. Easy pick there. Villanova over Florida Gulf Coast. I don't think we're going to see a 12 seed make the Sweet 16 in women's. I'm going to have LSU. Actually, I'm going to have Michigan defeat LSU here. We're going to have another 6 seed in the Sweet 16. And then I'm going to have Princeton move on, actually. I'm pretty sure Princeton might be like one of the better mid-majors in women's, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, if Princeton's getting a 10 seed out of the Ivy League, I feel like they got to be pretty good. So I'm rocking with Princeton to go pretty far here. Then we got Indiana versus Villanova. I got Indiana. And then I'm going to take Princeton to keep dancing over Michigan here in this one. So we have a 1 versus 10 seed. Maybe that's super unrealistic because I know there's not many upsets, but I'm going to go with Indiana here. Both 1 seeds making it to the Final Four. That's a little bit boring, but I'm trying to make it as interesting as I can. Next up, we got Stanford versus Southern or Sam Houston. Stanford is usually super good in women's. Definitely rocking with them. I'm also going to rock with the Gonzaga Bulldogs over Ole Miss in the 9 over an 8. I'm going to go with Louisville over Drake. Texas is tough. Texas is tough. I know as a WVU fan, they're actually pretty tough this year. Colorado, Middle Tennessee State. I'll go with Colorado. Duke over Iona. Out of all the 14 threes, I kind of want to pick Iona. I'm not going to, though. Florida State over Georgia and Iowa. I do know that Iowa, one of the only players I know is, her name's Caitlin Clark. An amazing three-point shooter. I mean, absolutely insane, honestly. Next up, we got Stanford versus Gonzaga. I'm going to go with Stanford. I'm going to go with Louisville over Texas. I'm going to go with Duke over Colorado. And I'm going to go with Iowa over Florida State. And I am going to take Stanford over Louisville, Iowa over Stanford. And I'm taking Iowa to move on to the Final Four. So we have 2 1 seeds and a 2 seed, 2 Big Ten teams in there. Is the Big Ten like that in women's? I have no idea, but I never trust the Big Ten in men's. Next up, we got Virginia. Virginia Tech is a 1 seed? Hold up. I did not expect that. Okay. Well, they're going to beat Chattanooga. South Dakota State's got to be good. If South Dakota State is a 9 seed, they gotta be good, bro. So I'm gonna rock with the Jackrabbits. Next up, we got Iowa State versus Toledo. Did I take a 12 over a 5 up here? I did. I doubt we'll see 2. I'll go with Iowa State. Then we got Tennessee versus St. Louis. Tennessee is usually really good in women's. North Carolina versus, I think Candace Parker went to Tennessee. That's why I know that. North Carolina versus either Purdue or St. John's. I'm going to take Purdue or St. John's here. Then we got Ohio State versus James Madison. Go with Ohio State. Baylor or Bama. Baylor is usually really good. They must be having a down year if they're a 7 seed, but I think they'll get out of the first round. Then we got UConn versus Vermont. I know Paige, what's her name, is out with an ACL or something. but I am going to go with UConn to keep dancing. Then we got Virginia Tech over South Dakota State, Tennessee over Iowa State, Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's a 3-2. Yeah, what's it called? The Big Ten must be like that in women's. Then we got Baylor and Connecticut. I guess I'm going to keep rocking with UConn. I mean, it's kind of boring. It's a little bit chalked. But we're rolling with it. And then I'm going to have Tennessee defeat Virginia Tech. I'm going to have UConn defeat Ohio State. And let's have UConn move on again. Here to the Final Four. So, our Final Four is set. We have South Carolina versus Iowa, and then Indiana versus UConn. And this is a tough one. I know Iowa has that really good shooter on their team, but South Carolina is just so good. I feel like South Carolina is that team in women's lately. And I have a hard time picking against them, but this one's for fun. I don't really know too much about it. I'm taking Iowa to move on. And then we got Indiana versus UConn. I'm going to rock with Indiana to move on to an all Big Ten championship. I'm picking Iowa to win here. And I feel like that's not really that realistic because I feel like South Carolina would probably just beat up on them, honestly. But screw it. I'm going with it. That's the one player I know in women's college basketball. And that's what I'm rocking with. So Iowa are my champions for the Women's March Madness. Let me know what you guys think about it down below. Maybe you guys know more about it than I do. Maybe I can switch up my bracket a little bit, make it a little bit better if you guys can give me some tips. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, guys.